Chitter chatter.
Attaboy, Jacob. Hey, Jacob, way to not waver. Yeah, yeah. That's why you're gonna be on these. You better. Don't waver or falter. You're a leader on this team. I respect you. It
would be pretty fun too.
I just saw you lead. That was insane. I respect you. Try to tap the Jacob here again. Come on.
Oh, no, yeah.
I call to order the November 14th meeting of the Student Government Association. We are live streaming and recording, so please review your agendas while Adam does roll call.
Caitlin Egan.
Here.
Timothy Allen.
Here.
Isabella Cattell.
Here.
Scott Dwan.
Here.
Nick Palumbo.
Here.
Anderson Dallaire.
Here.
Gage Landeville. Here. Justin Walls.
Here.
Crystal Mills.
Here.
Naomi Britta.
Here.
Travis McLaughlin.
Here.
Teddy Soa.
Here.
Benjamin Burnham.
Here.
Kayla Leary.
Here.
Ariane Baker. Abby Glashan.
Here.
Desiree Brown.
Here.
Fabian Morales.
Here.
Haley Kane.
Here.
Isabella Monez.
Here.
James McDonald.
Here.
Lois Black.
Here.
Savannah Souza.
Here.
Miles Jordan.
Here.
Gavin Fazio.
Here.
Jacob Constant.
Here.
Austin Morgan.
Here.
Brandon Rita.
Here.
Maggie Roberts.
Here.
Daniel Lyons.
Here.
Liam Connor.
Here.
Angela Hayes.
Here.
And Chris Pira.
Are there any corrections to the minutes from the November 7th meeting, Student Government Association? Seeing none, minutes approved.
And now for your presence report, Nicholas Smith.
Hello, everyone. Hello, there we go. Hi, Elizabeth. Hello, everyone. We have two very special guest speakers today. Starting with us, I gave you all a packet. Most of you should have it. It was sent to your emails. If not, you guys can follow along. We have coming down to speak to us about the Special Committee for Reforming General Education, also known as SCORE, Lynn, Shelley, Megan Kennedy, and Beverly Williams. So let's turn on the projector.
She was gonna trip, and clearly Beverly did not get the memo about how we were dressing tonight. Thank you, Nick, for both inviting us here and doing quick introductions. I can use my microphone, the John microphone. So as Nick, my name is Megan Kennedy. I'm the Executive Director of Educator Preparation, Accreditation, and Outreach. It's a fancy way of saying I'm the administrator for all the licensure programs here on campus. I'm a former faculty member in the education department, and I have been on SCORE now since its inception, almost 3 years, 3-year anniversary in February. Beverly, you want to do quick?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for inviting us here.
I'm Beverly Army Williams. I am the Executive Director of General Education and High Impact Practices. It's a mouthful. Most people just say EDGE when they're trying to refer to that role. I'm formerly from the English department, so I taught there for about 17 years. And my role now is to really be a champion for general education and to make sure we have the strongest program we can possibly have for our students.
And I see several or many former students or maybe potentially future students. My name is Lynn, Shelley. I'm in the Department of Psychology and I am the co-chair of SCORE.
Okay, so here's our intent for today. We want to share a little bit about the work that SCORE has been doing over the past 3 years. We want to talk a little bit about the model that you'll see in the handout that you received, a little bit about the work of high impact practices and how that informed this. What will students learn? How are we structuring this? How do we teach in? How do we teach out? And then there will be an opportunity to ask some questions and share some exciting things. Our goal is this is both an overview with some depth, but we are excited for questions and thoughts from SGA tonight. So SCORE was formed in February of 2021, and it reports to both AUC as well as the UCC governing bodies. There are 12 faculty and librarians, 5 presidential appointees, and 2 student representatives. If you look at this list, you will see that it's representing a broad area of campus. We worked really hard to make sure we had people on this committee that could really speak to different types of student experiences, the supports that students received while at Westfield, as well as some of the academic aspects of general education. And this committee meets twice a week in that 9:45 teaching block, Tuesday, Thursday, so about 3 hours a week. And so we've spent a long time really trying to think through and carefully craft an experience for future students that they will walk away with and go, that was pretty cool. And not, I checked a box. Because we are very aware that many of you look at gen ed requirements and you check boxes. And that's part of the way it's structured. And so we're working to shift that structure so that it feels just as valuable as your major when you're here at Westfield. Let me talk a little bit about the timeline. You can see we've hit quite a few milestones on this list. We have been out on campus, we've been working with NECHI, and we are excitingly here at fall 24. This is our next deadline. And the intent is that this new model will be implemented for incoming students fall of 2024. This is the hardest part about talking with students about this because you won't get to experience this. I ask that you put on your hat of your younger sibling or your friend or your cousin. Would you want this for them? And I'm sorry that we're not giving it to you. So all of the decisions that were made in SCORE came with a lot of research as well as community engagement. You can see the wide varieties of experiences we've had. I want to highlight that we have had some student surveys. We've had different opportunities where we have met with students, and then the student representatives on the committee have been really helpful as well. But as you might imagine, some of this you're not interested in, but other people are. So we've met with the group that works with advising as well as transfer, and we've really tried to make sure we're getting a lot of perspectives from campus. And we have shared this with everyone from president, the board of trustees, on down to departments, and that's been really intentional on our part. So where did we need to start? We needed to start with a gen ed statement, also known as a philosophy. Why? Because I bet if I asked you, and I'm not going to, it's not fair. If I were to ask you right now to tell me the purpose of general education at Westfield right now, you would say you take a lot of courses in areas and you check boxes. And we want it to be more than that. We want it to have a purpose. And so we started by creating a gen ed statement. It is in your handout if you'd like to look at it. We want curiosity, we want excitement. You'll notice verbs that are much more active in the learning process because we were mindful of the way general education is right now. It's very distributive. It's a lot of survey courses. And sometimes it's hard to engage in a survey course in the same way that you can with a seminar course or a course that employs more active learning. So you'll see that laid out in our general education statement. From that point, we had to create those broad learning goals. What are the big outcomes that we want from our general education program? What are the things we want to assess? What do we want to know about the experience? After that, then we got to do the fun work of the model. This didn't come for like about a year. It took us a year of work to get to the model. And partly, changing something as significant as general education has to be done very thoughtfully, very intentionally, and also very mindful of the different majors and experiences on campus. What doesn't impact a small major impacts a big major. Some departments have a lot of service to the core. In other words, the faculty teach a lot of the core courses, whereas other departments, it's a lot more majors. So we also were really mindful of making sure that there was an impact on faculty and staff, because that ripples down into majors, et cetera. So we were mindful of all of those components. And you'll see that when Dr. Shelley explains the model. She gets all the fun stuff. She gets to explain the good stuff. We then went to those column area descriptions. So we have the big broad model. You'll see that chart in there. And then we were looking to think about the different areas, the different components, and how do we describe those? And what does that look like? What does it mean to be in course in that area? Which of course then led to specific learning outcomes. Those are the pieces that we're hoping that any course in that area meets, whether it's intro to psychology or intro to criminal justice. If they're in that same area, we want some commonality in those experiences. And what we are working on currently is our assessment plan. So how are we assessing that? And that's in part because one of the key components of the next year report, and I know as students, especially students in your positions, you're aware of some of the report and what was said, and a really big concern was the assessment of general education. So you can see sort of the way that this has flowed and where we are in this process. Now, this is that general education statement. As I said, it's in there. I think my favorite words, no, I can't pick favorite words. But when you look at this, I hope you all see how this connects with both you as a person, your major, and what you want to be as an active citizen, both at Westfield and then out in the larger community. Our broad learning goals, as I was talking about, we had that big statement that leads to the broad learning goals, and those actually informed the different columns. So we have 4 columns in our model: Westfield State Journey, Analysis, Practice and Inquiry, Complex Problems and Perspectives. And we were lucky enough to have an art intern who worked with us and was able to create this amazing graphic. We tried to think through key moments on campus, and the globe obviously comes to mind. But I'm just gonna be honest, we have heard critique that this is not mindful of those who might be colorblind or have color challenges. So we are going to be shifting that. Is that you?
It is me.
We're gonna fix it.
I appreciate that.
We got you. I'm glad I said it then. Things, because this has all been a work in process. And as we hear from different people, we've been making changes because all of this is a living document. And so what I want you thinking about tonight is, what do you want us to hear to take back to the committee as we keep refining and finalizing this work? I think this is where I turn it over to you, Lynn. You get the model, you get the good stuff.
I really love talking about this model. It's something we're really, really proud of. And when you go around, and if you ever happen to look at the core curriculum on other campuses, you'll see that this model is really special and innovative. And it's a model that I think will make Westfield stand out as just cutting edge in comparison to the majority of other schools, not just in the area, but across the country. That's what we looked to. When we were developing this model, as Megan mentioned, we had a lot of considerations we had to keep in mind. There's certain statewide regulations that, first year students all have to take an English and math in the first year. That's a state requirement. Civic learning, that's a state requirement. But then we wanted to incorporate all of this neat cutting edge stuff that's out there and that a handful of schools across the country are doing. And we wanted to jump, on it and get on it ahead of others. And that's exactly what this model is. So I'll walk us through this model. Here it is. We have it depicted as a model, as this table with the 4 columns, and we talk about it as columns and areas. But really, there's no rigid sequence to this. Because one of the things we learned from majors is it can't be sequenced. Different majors have different requirements, different majors spread the gen ed curriculum out in different ways. Some load it all up front, some spread it out more. So we needed a very, very flexible model, and that's what we have here. So that first column is called the Westfield State University Journey, and we have two things that are brand new to our campus. The first one we're calling the first year journey. And on some campuses, this is called a first year experience. And in part, this is a course where you're just learning how to be a college student. How do you register for classes, and how do you use Blackboard, and how do you address your professor and write an email to your professor? That's a small part of it. The other piece of this is that we're gonna have faculty take an area of academic interest. And this could be an area that's, it could be Dungeons and Dragons or science fiction, or I always turn to Beverly. What are some of the areas?
Oh, the eating one.
Oh, the art of eating. There's just fun topics that you then practice academic skills on. How do you do library research on a topic? How do you determine what's a primary source? How do you practice all these study skills and time management skills are going to be practiced in this class, but on a really fun topic that the student gets to choose that they're interested in. So it's not really a traditionally academic topic. It's just a topic that the faculty member happens to be interested in. So it might be arts and crafts. It might be, like I said, science fiction. But it's a fun topic that students can, right in their first semester, get excited about being here taking. So when they go home, at break, and their family says, "What are you taking?" You know how you always have to scratch your head like, "Oh no." They'll be able to, "Oh, I'm taking a cool class on whatever it is," because it's something that they picked and they're interested in. The second thing that's completely new to our campus, it's not really new, but it's new that it's required, is every student is going to take 2 courses in well-being. And these are going to be 1.5 credit courses. So it might be something that meets regularly for just session A or session B, or it might be something that maybe meets once a week for the whole semester. But this is a course on well-being. How do you take care of yourself? How do you build a resilient self? And so some of the topics that are going to be happening in this, we have a course on stress management, which I didn't know this, but stress that's spelled backwards actually is desserts. Didn't know that. It's a course on
The science of sleep,
the science of sleep.
pickleball, financial literacy, all sorts of different things.
She's got them.
I'm
So, so this is going to be really exciting because students take these 1.5 credit courses. They're shorter. Again, students are selecting what they're interested in, what they think will be most beneficial for them. So maybe it is financial literacy, or maybe it's stress management, but they get to pick what's interesting to them. And these 1.5 credit classes are nice because you know how those 1 credit lab classes or the 4 credit English comp class messes up your whole schedule? This will be able to fill things in nicely for those. Okay, the next column looks really traditional to what you're familiar with. We have rhetoric and inquiry, which is where English Comp 1 will be. You have your inquiry into the natural world, the nice science class. You have inquiry into pattern, data, and reasoning, a math class. That looks really familiar. The one place where this is different is for your core, you had to take an arts appreciation class. Arts appreciation is still going to exist, but it's in another area. This is a class called Creative Arts Practice. This is someplace you have to get your hands dirty. You have to engage in something related to the theater or art or music or creative writing. You have to take a 3 credit experience where you get dirty and you do something. What you're going to start to notice with this model is there's a lot of active learning in this. Not very much sitting back, lectured at, much more active. You're going to be doing things. So students are going to be, taking music lessons or taking an art class. You're going to be doing something. The next column is really what's making us stand out as different. And when you see this on other campuses, often they'll have 1 required class. We have 3 of these. And these are called, actually I think the name's changed. The name's different than what's on this slide. Exploring complex issues. We were calling them problems, but then we didn't really like it called problems. So students are going to have 3 opportunities to explore complex issues, sort of stemming from different domains. And these are going to be where you take a contemporary issue and you examine it from multiple perspectives. So one example is pregnancy. So that would be exploring complex issues anchored in mathematics, computing, and natural science. So explore pregnancy. Think about the biology of pregnancy, but then there's also the psychology and the economics and the social and all these different issues surrounding pregnancy. And so a topic, an issue will be explored, but from multiple perspectives, and they're just really fun and exciting. Historically, students usually don't get these types of classes until they're up in their senior year, in their major, where they get to grapple with real life problems. We're pulling that sooner because we know you're capable of it. So we're letting students grapple with real life problems much, much earlier than they had in the past. Oh, there I have the correct name. And then this last column, every single survey that we did, we kept getting back from students, from faculty, focus groups, the importance of global diversity, equity, that this was something that was valued. And so we really wanted this embedded through a series of courses. And so we have, again, this looks a little bit familiar. We have social groups and culture. That's going to be where things like sociology and some of the arts and the arts appreciation would be. Individuals and context is where psychology and intro to criminal justice and intro to social work might be. Civic learning is what it sounds like, civic learning. And then we have something, again, that's a little bit new for our campus. This is another action-oriented class where the reduction of isms is going to be emphasized. So racism reduction, sexism reduction, all of this, power and perspectives. This is another action-oriented class. So we're really excited about this whole column. One of the guiding principles of this is, of course, we're going to continue to have intro to and survey of courses, but there's going to be far fewer of those, and you're going to have far more of these issue-focused classes. And we're going to try to keep them issues that are relevant and contemporary to the day. So here are some of the courses that would be first-year journey courses. Yeah, these are all first-year journey, I think. So again, they're exciting, they're interesting. We want students to come here and rather than taking the same stuff I took in high school, you know, we're trying to make this not high school 2.0. This is new and interesting. The other new component to this is that we have 2 things down here at the bottom that we're calling university-wide requirements. And these are, every major is going to have to do this. One is that every major is going to have a writing in the discipline experience. So that might be, for some students, that might be you take English Comp 2, but for some students, you might have a writing intensive class in the major. That's not going to add anything to the credit count because that's already going to be something that exists in the major. And then the other thing that's going to be in the major, in a pre-existing major class, is this integrative experience. And this is someplace where students just get to pause and reflect on, how does Gen Ed, my major, and my plans for the future, how do these all interrelate? What's my learning style, and what's the themes that I've seen through all of this? And so these are going to be things that are completed in the major, so they don't increase the number of credits you have to take because they'll happen in already existing courses. So, Beverly's high impact practices.
Thank you. So a really important aspect of the new general education program is that we really want students doing active learning. And one way to make sure that happens is to incorporate high impact practices. You'll see a list of them on the side of the slide, and this is from the Association of American Colleges and Universities. So one thing that is really exciting about using high impact practices is that research shows us that they help students who are at risk stay in college. They help them to persist and to graduate. The other nice thing about high impact practices is it's something we're already doing on campus. However, through surveys and focus groups, et cetera, what SCORE learned is that they're happening in the major. So what we're doing with this new model is ensuring that high impact practices are happening from day one. As soon as students join our university, they're engaged in high impact practices. So these three, the first year seminar experience, that's the first year journey. Writing intensive, you're gonna be getting that in comp, you're gonna be getting that in exploring complex issues, you're gonna get that in exploring writing in the major. So there are lots of places where writing will happen. And we've got the perspectives column that is where diversity and global learning is happening. In terms of the ones that you see flipping around, those are some that are already happening, and we think our faculty are just going to sort of increase where those are in their courses. So things like collaborative projects, so working with groups, working together to maybe do some undergraduate research, present at Kirka, if anybody's done that, that's the kind of thing we're talking about, and using e-portfolios. And then of course, that went a little too fast for me. I thought I was gonna flip one more here. The last three that you see, those are happening a lot in the major classes, right? And so you do your internship or your service learning. We have capstones, and you might be part of a learning community. So this slide shows you how HIPs help our students, so the ways that they help them. As I said before, it increases retention, students stay. Part of that is because students are interacting with faculty more. It's not a lecture model where you've got the sage on the stage just preaching to the students in the audience, but rather they're engaging. Students and faculty are engaging together. We've got an increase in first year GPA. So we see that results in the use of high impact practices results in increased critical thinking, writing skills, which we all know those are important. It helps students to complete their degrees in 4 years so that you have that persistence to graduation. So this is one of my favorite slides of all times, and those of you who've had me know that I typically like a slide with no more than 6 words. I'm looking at Dan because I've forced that on him many a day. This has a lot of words, but it's really fun. So this slide is going to show you where the high impact practices happen in the model. So
Again, it's only once. Doesn't come up anytime, say all in one, I'm sorry.
It's okay, wait till my Oprah away.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a really good Oprah moment that we're about to miss.
I don't even know if I can go on. Anywho, so what we've got is that in every area on here, we've got at least one high impact practice. And these are the ones that are embedded in the way the courses are designed, in the way that our learning outcomes are created. So there are high impact practices all over this model. You're going to be hard pressed to not engage in high impact practices in this model. Oh, there's one.
You get a high impact practice. You get a high impact.
It used to be really fun where they just kept coming
They
and I was
came
like,
in
you
one
get
at a
one, you
time.
get one.
I'm sorry, I took it out, I didn't think you wanted to go one at a time. But there's a lot of high impact practices in there. Okay, so I'll very quickly tell you what exactly are students gonna learn. You know, this model is not as much content driven as our last model is, it's more practice driven. And the appendix in that handout that you have describes all the areas, and it provides student learning outcomes, and it also has practice standards. What should the professors be doing in the class? What are the practice standards? So, you know, is this a lab class? Is this a, you know, what do we mean by global diversity? How are you embedding that in class? And so all of that is in, I think it's appendix H. I don't know, it's in the appendix there. Right at the end. That's why the document is so long. But let me give you an example. So first year journey, you have this description of the course, then you have the learning outcomes at the top, and then you can see the practice standards. So the learning outcomes are what we want students to be able to do by the time they complete the course, and then the practice standards are, this is what the faculty member is doing, this is what the course is doing. Here's another one, you know, you have inquiry into the natural sciences, you have the description in green, you have these learning outcomes, and then you have the practice standard, that this is an active learning lab. So SCORE identified several key student learning outcomes, and they're scaffolded through the model. So when Beverly had her great thing, you would have seen that this is sort of scaffolded through the model. So the things that are really scaffolded throughout the model is writing across the curriculum. You can see that students are getting all these credits of writing intensive or writing infused. Information literacy is infused across the curriculum. Again, it starts with the first year journey and it goes all the way through a number of different courses, including that entire green column. So you can see there's a lot of credits of information literacy. And then this diversity global learning is that entire column. So you can see here are some key things that we, SCORE, thought was really important, and we embedded them, and they're scaffolded. So it's not one thing that you hear once. It's going to be built on as you go through the entire curriculum. I think this might be you, Megan.
No, it's my favorite slide. As I said before, every decision was made with you as the students in mind. We had design and process principles we started with. Students first and always was our one of our first statements. We really wanted to make decisions that were better for students than what faculty felt were better. And so that led to a lot of shifts in perspectives taking that I thought was really, really valuable. We also didn't take any of this lightly. We recognize that this is a big change for our campus, both for faculty, staff, stakeholders, alumni. This impacts a lot of people. So we weren't just careless with what we kept and what we let go of. And we did a lot of engagement with campus. We've been to governance now all the time. Nick saw us do the AUC show last week, 2 weeks ago. And so we've really been trying to make sure we're in a lot of key spaces in this work. We're always thinking about things like marketing, in other words, that colored thing. But also, how are we talking about this? When you came to Westfield, how much did you know about your general education? We want to shift that conversation. We're very aware, as we're mindful of our campus and keeping it vibrant, about how this is both a recruiting and retention tool. We've been aware of this idea of advising and how does this impact that, but we just came back to this key point of this is meant to generate excitement. And my favorite conversations with faculty is when they're finally creating that course they've always wanted to do, and they found this space for it. The excitement and the revitalization post-COVID of that joy of being back in the classroom has been really fun for us on SCORE to be able to help and shepherd through. Oh, what's new?
Okay, so I get to say, again, I'm so sorry that you're not getting this curriculum. So what's new? We have these exploring complex issues. It starts early. No longer are we telling students you can't tackle real problems until you're in your major way up there. We're having students tackle real life problems right from the start. HIPs are throughout. Gen Ed courses will no longer be major restricted. And if you're in a major where you have lots of things in Gen Ed, then you're like, oh, well, that was great for me. But if you're like the vast majority of students that would read a course description and think, that sounds awesome, and then you try to get in the course and it's like, oh, sorry, Ed has restrictions on that, or CJ has restrictions on that, that's not gonna happen anymore. Sorry, I have to pick on Ed every once in a while.
Totally fair.
And then the other thing that's gonna happen that's really different is every student is going to take the same number of credits. There's no more double dipping. And I know students love double dipping. And the reason you love double dipping is because the old core was so big and cumbersome. And so you wanted to make it smaller by double dipping. Well, what we've done is we've shrunk the core for everybody. So you don't have to double dip. So the core is the same size for every single student. It doesn't matter if you can register early or if you register late. The core is the same size. We all know that those double dippers got to the early birds only, because if you were registering late, all the double dippers were filled. We all know that. I've been advising first year students this week. None of them are getting the double dippers. Sorry, they're all filled. What we found is that the students who are taking the smaller core were the students who were in the programs that got preferential registration. And that's not really fair. And so we're trying to just level the playing field so everyone has a core the same size. The other problem when the core was unequal is that next year requires a core curriculum of minimum of 40 credits for everybody. Well, when students were dropping below that 40 credits, we really weren't supposed to be allowing that, and we had been. And so again, 41 credits is gonna be the gen ed curriculum for everybody.
Now, Lynn, we use double dipping in a lot of different ways. Where can we still double dip?
So yes, every time I say that, everyone will be like, wait a second, does that mean intro psych can't also count in my major? No. You can double dip, you can use core classes to count towards your major, that's going to continue. But you can't use one class to satisfy 2 core requirements. So when I'm saying double dipping, thank you for saying that. Because when I'm saying double dipping, I'm saying you can't use one class to check off 2 boxes. It made sense in our old core, because our old core was massive, but we've shrunk it, and so now it doesn't make sense anymore. But you're gonna continue to have, I know in my department, our students have to take, in psychology, you have to take biology and you have to take intro psych in the core. That's gonna continue. Education, they have to take a whole list of things.
Yeah, keep picking on me.
I know. The other thing is that there's not very much sequence. There's one place that you have sequencing, and that's you can't take your exploring complex issues until you've taken the first year journey. But other than that, there's no sequencing, so there's no prereqs. Again, so that means that you can really take these courses at any time. There's not a lot of rigidity in here. Now, there is state requirements that require all students complete in English and math in the first year. And so that is the one exception that we do. We're keeping the English Comp 1 in the first year, and we're encouraging students to take their math in the first year. But other than that, there's no sequencing. I think this is you, Megan.
Okay.
We just take turns.
Yep, we do. How many of you have Tim Partial? Professor Partial, environmental science, have you ever had him?
I know who he is.
You know who he is? Okay, he's on the score, and I like to imitate him for this, because he does this in the Zoom. He's like, we have to teach in and we have to teach out. We need these huge charts that are gonna cross the line, so that, you know, when our, those of you who might be sophomores or juniors, you're finishing up your core, even though we're launching the new core, there is going to be old core offerings. And so if I imitate Tim, big spreadsheet, I imagine like a whole wall with the way he describes it. And so current students, you will continue with the old core as you're working to complete things. And our fall 24 incoming first years will start with the new general education. As you might imagine, this is a lot of courses that we have to put through the governance process. So this is gonna be an ongoing component, but we know Psych 101 is gonna be there. And we know that Psych 101, regardless of whether it's the old version or the new version, they still count. So we're gonna be doing a lot of that. And we're gonna work on a way to really make this clear for transfer, for advisors and other individuals who are really attending to that. During the transition of transfer students and this new launch, we're going to have transfer students come in with their originating class so that they're going to complete the old course. So they're not coming in having completed either mass transfer or other things and be expected to do different things. We've been really mindful of not adding. Our belief is less barriers. And then Beverly is our inaugural director. And this is really key because she's gonna be able to both monitor this, make sure there are enough sections of these components. And if any of you have tried to get forms signed to make courses count in different areas, we're also gonna be able to streamline some of that process for students. And so we're very mindful of the teach in, teach out plan. It is not on paper yet. It's in quite a few different places, but we will be sharing that because we know that that is integral to this moving forward. Although this is where my ed experience does come in handy as someone who built a new program and have been teaching and teaching out new majors. We got this. Okay, so at this point, we are gonna open it up for questions and answers. I am going to say, every question that we've gotten in spaces has helped us think about something. My favorite is when I get to go, we've never thought about that. Because we're almost in 3 years of this work, so we've thought about a lot of things, but I love when we get things we haven't thought about. So at this point, Nick, I turn it to you.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for the score so you can carry it?
Good evening. I want to first of all congratulate you on a great model. I know that I was talking with Emily last year about making sure there was the writing, making sure there was public speaking and information literacy. I'm very pleased that that is included in the model. I will note there is definitely a need to market effectively for incoming students. So we have been test modeling with incoming students through the touring and whatnot. If you talk a lot about soft skills, that's exactly what you want to hear. I was pulled over by the vice president from TJX who was talking about that. That's the #1 issue they're facing. So if parents hear that as well, they'll love that as well. One thing I want to ask is about budget implications. Since some of these requirements may require additional faculty in certain areas, so if I may ask what the budget implication may be for some of these areas.
I'll start and then Lynn will finish. That's usually how we do this. We were mindful of budget. We're very aware of sort of the state of the union in our world right now. And so that's why I talked about low impact, because impact will hold on that for a while, is valuing both contributions to general education and potentially majors in areas. Because there are some departments, I will use education, that we have some in gen ed, but not very much. And there are faculty who are like, I would love to do an exploring complex issues class. I would love to add something here. And so there are departments that haven't necessarily been budgeted for that. The other piece that was really important to us was getting executive director, because that will also help us be mindful of those resources, so that we are mindful of how many courses we're running, so that we're as concise with that as possible. It's the wrong word, but you know what I mean. I think the one other thing that I would say about cost is what I love about the high impact practices is so few of them cost anything. They increase the likelihood of all these things, and a lot of this is done just by changing curriculum. But the budget component is something we've been talking about, and you have a good piece that you add to this.
I don't know what my good piece is, but I'll add that the overall average class size is not going to change for better or for worse. However, you're going to see that those writing intensive classes are going to be a little bit smaller. But then that means, something like intro psych is going to have to be a little bit larger. So on average, the class size is not going to change, because once you start changing the class sizes, you start costing lots and lots of money. So that's one piece. The other piece is this is actually going to save students money, students who were previously having to complete more than 120 credits in order to graduate. By shrinking the size of the core, we're really hoping that students will no longer have to go, or for not good reasons, will not have to go past that 120 credits. So there's so many financial components to this. But really, that's the one piece where we don't have administration mad at us, because we're not costing more money.
I'll add one more thing.
No, good.
I'm a Calvin. One other thing I would add is to support this work in the launch. SCORE has written grants, and we received almost a $300,000 grant from the Hirsch Foundation. No. Davis, we didn't get the Hirsch. We didn't apply for the Hirsch. It's not that we didn't get it. And that has been vital in building out these courses. So we've been able to compensate faculty for a lot of those works, holding professional development, all of those pieces that make it better, we've been able to do through grant funding, really looking for some of those supplemental supports.
Sarah Harrington.
Hi guys. Hi, thank you for
Hi.
coming on. I really love this new model. It seems super exciting, fun to I'm upset I'm not gonna be part of it.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
We did it right. If you all look at this and you're like, I'm not happy.
My only question is, there seems like a lot of areas, just looking at it, it just seems overwhelming. That's a fair term, but I mean, it's just a lot. Especially if you need one course for every area. My question is there gonna be major courses in each area so that you can do the double dipping, so that we're not just taking 15 courses that don't apply to our major at all?
Absolutely. And speaking from education, currently education has multiple courses that are in general education. They will be in the new general education as well. However, the difference is they're not only going to be restricted to education majors. And so that does limit some of the major courses that would make sense to include in general education. That's a conversation the ed department have. It's a conversation GPS is having. It's a conversation nursing is having. Which courses need to be in there for accreditation? And We know that Psych 101 and elementary statistics, very popular in a lot of majors. So we've worked with those departments to make sure that they are still there. When you look at the green column and the purple column, those to me feel the same as the old model, that distributive, like you check the different boxes. But we do hope as you get used to looking at the model, it becomes easier to see that it's, the 13 courses and then the 2 university requirements. It's just a little different than like social understanding where you have to get 9. We're hoping actually making some of that decision easier by pushing you out of your comfort zones in some places. Because I saw some of your faces when Lynn was talking about creative arts practice. I saw it. But what if you took a website design, branding your own person, there's so many applicable things that we're looking at.
I can see all of the education courses and perspectives.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. 215 will be in there.
yeah.
Caleb Scott.
Hi. So I have a couple things. I just wanted to say that I'm very glad to see the first year journey courses. I'm a transfer student here myself. The university I came from, we had first year seminars, and that was my favorite thing about it. My sister and I, she had a class that focused on the Harry Potter series, and I did one that was focused on rockets, and I absolutely loved it. And when I was transferring here, I was like, oh, why don't they have that? So I'm really glad to see that. And then
That's exactly what we're hoping for. No, I mean, Lynn talks all the time about her son who took a course and then took everything from that professor because it was. Yeah.
before I ended up transferring, because I took that course, I added astrophysics onto my major. So, and then the other thing is, so I am a transfer student myself, and I was a transfer orientation leader over the summer, constantly doing transfer tours. Ethan over there is also a transfer student. So I'd love to talk to you guys more about streamlining that process, because I'm also constantly in contact with Brittany and advising, and we're constantly talking to transfer students or potential transfer students, and what's stopping them from transferring, or what was the difficulties, especially when it comes to the transfer of credits. Because that's one thing that I have no credits for.
Yeah.
Lynn's like, I got this one. Push me out of the way.
I spent the morning talking about this, so I know. So what's gonna happen is, right now, if you're a transfer student, you come in, you have to take everything in the gen ed curriculum, regardless of what you've done previously. Tough, not only, and if you're transferring the compact, tough, we don't care, you have your associates, you're gonna take +6. We're really trying to we're going to get rid of all of that. So there's no more +6 for the transfer with the compact. And also, depending on how many credits you transfer in, the size of your gen ed curriculum is going to be adjusted. So no more are we going to make students go backwards, and often we have students coming in as juniors, you come in with a lot of credits, and we're making them go backwards and retake. And this is the population that's graduating with 130, 140 credits. And so we're really trying to deal with that by acknowledging that when you transfer in a lot of classes, these can check out all these areas. So we are absolutely aware of that, because it's really disheartening when you look at some of the degree audits of your classmates who have transferred in, who are up to 145 credits, just because they transferred. So thank you. Keep us in check, because that's so important.
I just
And what was your name again?
Kaolin.
Kaolin.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just seeing it in my head. We would love to talk with you. And you, sir, too, if you'd like to join. Because we do have a subcommittee working on this, and having that student perspective and looking at the policy would be great, so.
My next thing is, so right now, when you're transferring credits, especially when it's gen ed credits, you have to go to the dean of your school.
Yep.
Is there going to be, okay.
Well, if those of you who haven't transferred, you have to get 18,000 signatures for each course that you want to count in different areas. And that's one of the ways we intend to streamline the process. It's the very essence of the Beverly, the edge, to help with that.
One person, one signature. No more running around.
what we've done already, like getting Joanna in admissions, like I was here before we even had a Joanna in admissions. So like I've seen how we've gotten better with streamlining that process, and I'm really glad with it.
If you've been in admissions, Emily Gibbons is on our committee. We spent a lot of work with transfer, and she's leading that subcommittee. So definitely reach out. We would love to connect you with that group. I think it could be really valuable insight.
Spira?
Hi, you may remember,
Sorry, hold on one second. How did you know?
It's a magic trick.
What's the
No,
trick?
there's a hand signal that I can pick up on.
hello.
The teacher in me had to ask. Hi, Chris. How are you?
It's good to see you guys again. This was a wonderful presentation. I just want to thank you for coming down. I would argue to say this is the most important meeting so far this year. It's gonna determine the future. I did want to give a couple comments. I first want to say that, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. The well-being courses, I heard from a lot of students as a member of school committee last year when I would talk to my friends that they would say like the well-being courses, those are something like the financial literacy, the mental health courses, those are something that you should be taught in high school, and that now that we're having here, I think it's great.
And that was a real response to what we're seeing about the mental health statistics.
Right.
We couldn't ignore that component of a student's experience this day, and that was one of the main things that guided it. So I'm loving that you're hearing from people like, I didn't get it, I want it.
I'm also glad to see that a lot of Emily's ideas from last year are implemented into this, and mine and Sarah's as well. But going off what someone said last year, Chloe mentioned like when you're talking about the fun topics that professors that are teaching, she mentioned like having like maybe a course like the history of Taylor Swift. I know a lot of people would love that. Do you think there's something maybe possible like that? And my other question.
So I'm gonna pause you because I was thinking about the first year journey. I'm like, is it appropriate for me to make a Taylor Swift joke right now, like Taylor's version? But Lynn, talk about the Janet Jackson class your son took, because I could see this equivalent being a Taylor Swift course.
So, yeah, I mean, my son took a first year experience class on Janet Jackson, which, you know, that's old school, sorry to parents. But it was really, she dealt with a lot of stuff, sexism, racism, and Nipplegate. I don't know if you're familiar with Nipplegate, but it was a thing. And so I could totally see a first year journey course completely on Taylor Swift. Because again, think about all the different influences. You have economic issues, you have issues of gender, you have issues of music. There's just so many issues that you could explore just from one pop person. So.
The question I did want to ask, going off what Sarah and Kale said about double dipping, and especially transfer students, how will it result for students in majors such as like nursing or education that have a lot of credits? And how are they going to have to take more classes this semester, like summer classes? But then the one thing I wanted to ask you, if you could send it out to me or in all of SGA, would be if you have it on hand, like all the classes that are being offered with each core section, if that's something you have.
We're not up to the courses. We will be soon, well, within the next 3 months, 4 months. So we're not quite there yet, but as soon as we are, we definitely want to hear from you. We have been deliberately having folks from those highly regulated departments like nursing and education on the committee because we cannot make a core too large that's going to hurt them. It's just first of all, it's unethical, but it's too large of our student population. So we have been very deliberate about not blowing things up. So far, nursing is going to be okay, education is going to be okay, criminal justice is going to be okay. So these large majors, we've really been very deliberate about making sure they're not going to have to go over that 120. Because again, it's an issue of ethics. You shouldn't come to a university and be told, complete your degrees in 120 credits and then have to go way beyond that. So.
Sarah Harrington.
Hi again.
I again.
I just want to say I saw Janet Jackson this summer. She's great. I have two things to say. First, you could do a whole class on the errors course specifically, and the economics and all the stuff behind that. Sorry.
And her whole prep,
Yeah, that's the whole thing. My question is, how can there be no restrictions? Because like a lot of times that's like a problem with like not enough professors or like offering this many courses and there's only this many seats. So I'm just wondering like the logistics behind that.
Can I ask you a follow-up question before I answer your question?
Yeah.
When you're saying, are you talking specifically about course caps and like numbers, or which part are you digging into with the restrictions?
Well,
Major restrictions?
I think it is bigger restriction. If a student wants to take a class, it has to be offered, is that
Yes.
still?
Yep.
So, yeah, course restrictions.
Okay, yeah. Let me try, and then if you have a follow-up, we will go with this.
Okay.
So, as you know, there are courses in general education or in our current core that you don't have access to. And that isn't general education. That's the major pushing stuff into general education. So we will still be able to double dip, and things like schools in American culture or critical multicultural ed, they do 2 ed courses, will still be in general education. You just might have other majors in there as well. It won't just be education majors. So when we're talking with individuals about what courses they want to put in, we're making sure that they're courses that would work across majors, opening some of those things up. Because this actually connects with Dan's point about the finances. We are having to cancel classes if they're too restricted because there's not enough population to fill them. So we're also seeing that as an opportunity to expand that. Is that the question you were answering? Asking.
There's never gonna be, so right now I have to take 221, there's a course that I have to take right now that isn't offered this semester, but
Yep.
isn't offered next semester.
Yep.
There's not gonna be that.
When we are working on general education, we are working to make sure there are as many options as possible, and that's where the sequencing is also removed.
Okay.
But we will keep working on specific majors to make sure specific courses are offered.
Okay.
We can chat after.
Okay.
Make sure I understand what we're talking about.
Desiree Brown.
Hi, I'm just gonna jump back a little bit to about being for transfer students. I myself am a transfer student. It's my first semester here at Westfield. Transfer students and first year students are put into the same group when we first come here to where we don't get to choose our classes. And a lot of times we're just kind of thrown into whatever fits. Is there anything that you guys are gonna help so that transfer students, get to have more say in the classes that we take and more like information knowledge on the classes that are open to us because due to the limited availability?
So the easy answer is absolutely. This is definitely something we've noticed, and when we've been talking about our transfer policies, it ripples up to things like orientation and registration. So we want to find ways to streamline those processes, and if a degree audit's not reading something, we don't want someone putting you in a course that we find there is actually an equivalent. So we are working on that process, and we're also trying to be mindful of transfer students are not first year, first semester students, and they need to be treated differently, different types of orientation, because the piece that we are concerned about with transfers in the first year journey, we see this as a very key community space here on campus, really finding your niche here. And so if transfers are coming in without that, what are the things that are in that class that they need to be here on campus? Because we know that there's not always that consistency of that experience, especially for our part-time students. So we've been thinking through those pieces. I don't have the full action plan yet, but we're gonna pull together a little transfer group here.
Just a point of information, I have been working on that because as you know, orientation leader, and I did notice that. So I've already been working with Brittany on how to change that up with the orientation, but definitely email me. Actually, you have my number, and then I'm going to be working with this group here. So
it's awesome.
Is there any further? Brittany Rita?
Oh, I think I know what the symbol is. I figured out the symbol.
Yes. Yes. The hovering of the paper.
It's the secret SGA hand raise. Thank you all so much for coming. I love the passion you have for all of us. I just want to ask you, with all of us being on the old gen and everything going to the new gen, will we be affected by the push for the new policies in any way?
No. The only way you might be impacted is on the positive end. So for example, if you are a second year student and we're offering these really interesting exploring complex issues and you're like, I want that. We want you to be able to also take it and match it with, where does it fit with the old curriculum? We've already been thinking through that. So if there's gonna be any impact, we want it to be on the positive end. And we are very aware that we need to keep offering multiple sections of the old core. So we're kind of working through both components of that.
Thank you so much.
Sarah Harrington.
I promise this is the last one.
Don't promise what you can't promise.
My question, how will, I guess this is partly an advisor job, but how do you think that we should keep students on track from not taking like all the fun courses all at the same time, like just filling up their schedule with a bunch of like hands-on, maybe like just fun courses and actually like keeping them on track with their major, getting stuff done when they need to get done to then better themselves in the upcoming years?
It is gonna land a lot on advisors and in majors, to sort of balance some of those components. But we want you to walk away with all of them being, oh, that was so fun. That was the broccoli hidden in the chicken nuggets. I didn't even feel like I was learning. So our goal is to better prepare all advisors, prepare some documents, and work on advocacy so students can advocate for themselves and have a better sense of how to map that out. Very intentionally, we imagine most students will take their first exploring complex issues first semester sophomore year. We know that there's a big dip in retention from first year to second year. And so we're hoping that that sort of like, ooh, I have that course, or if it's their second course, ooh, I have that course, and I'm ready and excited. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Dan Courier.
I move to end debate.
It's been moved to end debate. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments, or concerns on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstention?
No.
That seemed pretty split. I'm looking at Brian.
You could do by hands or by roll call.
Okay, we can, is there a motion to do it probably by hand in the interest of time? It's been moved to do a vote by hand. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so, in favor or abstentions? In favor carries.
Thank you. You can read the slide, you know where to find us. Please keep us in the loop if there's anything you need.
And if there were any further questions you guys do want me to correct you as a point of information, with any of the three lovely people that came down today, please let me know. And I will connect you guys in however that means. Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you again to wonderful people of SCORE. I do want to introduce our next guest speaker for the night, Director of Residential Life, Christina. I want to remind you guys, or not remind you guys, but let you guys know, that's the wrong thing. With questions, I want to remind you guys to keep it in the realm of following up in the open forum, or any first initial feedbacks for Res Life as they adjust their housing selection process. So, further ado, okay.
Thank you. Hi, how is everyone?
Good.
Woo! All right, SGA. My name is Chris. Chris is fine. I know that I've got lots of names. Chris is good. I apologize first and foremost for this being the first time that I get to be with you all. I hope to be here for the town hall or the student forum. That was actually my birthday, so I apologize. I was traveling. But I'm very, very happy to be here with you tonight. I'm here actually to share a couple of things, updates, just so folks who are residential students are aware, folks who are commuters can share the joy and perhaps think about living on campus at some point. And then also to talk a little bit, actually to get your input on our housing selection process. So does that sound good to folks?
Yeah.
All right, do we need to do a roll call? No, we don't. Let's keep going. All right. So first and foremost, wanted to give updates in terms of Thanksgiving break. How many folks are excited that we have a break opportunity coming up, regardless of your plans? Yes, some hands. All right, awesome, awesome. So what to know? If you are a residential student, please know that our halls do close on Wednesday, the 22nd at 2 p.m. We will reopen on the 26th at 12 p.m. And please share with residents, we will be conducting health and safety inspections on that Wednesday of closing. So just be aware. I never want to surprise folks, but just let you all know that we want to make sure the halls are in the best shape they can be before we close them, and all enjoy a little bit of a vacation before coming back. So what do you need to do? If you plan on staying, if you're working with residents who are planning on staying, please make sure that they complete an application. It's very simple. They can go into My Housing. It'll be their Thanksgiving break application. They fill out a couple of questions, let us know their plans, and they'll be receiving some type of notification that they've been approved. Most likely everyone gets approved. We don't want to send folks home or away if we don't need to. So please, again, make sure that you complete the application. These are due by Friday. If you plan on leaving, how many of you are residential students? Just quick show of hands. Awesome. How many of you have noticed, what do you have on your door right now?
Yellow sheet.
Oh no. Yes, a half yellow sheet. Awesome. And it should have a checklist on it. It'll tell you what you need to do to kind of prep your room and check out. Some of my RAs are like, oh, maybe it's time to put those up. All right, so you should, if you don't already, have a half yellow sheet on your door. Encourage residents and or yourselves to make sure that you do the checklist. If you are leaving, sign before you head out and you'll be good to go. Sound good? All right, can I open it up for questions before I move on? Anything for Thanksgiving break?
Are there any questions, comments, and concerns for Chris in this portion? Seeing none, let's continue.
Excellent. How many of you received an email from us that maybe looked a little bit like spam, has a survey in it? Yes, all right, a couple of hands. Hopefully you all are filling that out. If you are working with residents, please make sure that they are filling it out. This is our annual, it's Sky Factor, but it's our annual residential experience and satisfaction survey. Last year, we actually did it in the spring semester. Spring is a little bit tough because you give us your feedback and then we basically leave for the summer and it's like, whoop, okay. So we're doing it in the fall this year so we can actually take your feedback, make some substantive changes over the break, thinking about the spring semester. And we're actually also using your feedback to inform our RA evaluation process. So it's very, very important for folks to fill this out. Please make sure you go into your email. It is a unique link for you. So otherwise, we would have a great QR code that you could spread around. Unfortunately, folks have to go into their emails and actually complete the survey so that we know that each student is filling it out. That having been said, you have until November 30th to complete it. And we have great prizes. John, what's one of the great prizes?
Give the grand prize one.
You want to do the great? Oh, all right. Well, hold on then. All right. So we have, Brian, you want to share the other great prizes? Bucks. So we're giving away 15 $25 gift cards. Some are Bucks, some are Amazon, some are to the bookstore, towards a bookstore purchase, and some are for Dunkin' Donuts. So 15 lucky winners, folks who've completed the survey, will get a little bit of extra spending cash towards those 4 things. John, what is our grand prize?
We're giving away 3 fast passes for housing selection, meaning you get the first selection time for your time.
Yes! 3 of them, meaning we will have 1 for someone who is a rising senior, 1 for someone who is a rising sophomore, and 1 for someone who's a rising junior. Didn't forget you. So we will have 3 individuals who are chosen. We actually have already done 2 of our $25 Owl Bucks. Those went out to 2 Davis residents earlier today. But please, please, please make sure you fill out your survey because you want to be entered in. We are doing these. We're pulling names. And whoever those 3 individuals are that get that fast pass, if they get a really terrible number, they're going straight to the top for their class year in terms of selection. Does that make sense to folks? Yeah. Does that seem like a good incentive?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And on top of that, you're giving us your thoughts, which is actually more important. We want to know what you think. That to me is incentive enough. But Also want to make sure that it's great for you all, and it'll be wonderful to see who ends up getting those top 3 picks. All right, questions about this?
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Jacob Constance?
Yes.
The rising thing was for next fall, correct?
Correct, yes. So these are folks who will be going through housing selection, because we'll talk a little bit about that. But it will be our rising seniors for fall 24, rising junior, rising sophomore.
Sarah Harrington?
I have a question with the fast pass. Are we gonna be able to, like, with our roommate groups, are we gonna be able to pull them with us if we're signing up to them?
Yes.
John's
like, wait, what? Yes. Double and triple and quadruple and maybe even up to sextuple. Incentive for you, or do we have 8 octuple? Yes. So many winners that could be connected with one person if you get that fast pass.
Hi, just another question with the fast pass. So for students who have housing accommodations, they don't get to pick. So what happens if you pull a student's name? Will you have all the information on that student to give it to someone else?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. We'll look into that. Maybe you can gift it to someone, or maybe we'll figure it out. What's your name?
Isabella Moniz.
Awesome. Great question, Isabella. We will do some thinking, and let me touch base with you afterwards to see if that makes sense.
Chris Brown?
Hi, Chris. If you are a rising junior and you want to live with rising seniors, when a rising senior gets the fast pass, will they be able to take a rising junior with them, or vice versa?
Yes, so I think that goes with the other question. We will accommodate whoever gets the fast pass and whoever is connected with them. Yep, great question.
Any further in this section? Seeing none?
All right, are you all excited by the fast pass?
Yes.
All right, awesome. All right, please, make sure you fill out the survey. And please encourage other people to fill out the survey too, because I know smaller numbers, you're like, that means I have a better chance of winning. No, spread the wealth, spread the love. Okay. All right, application. So this is for the upcoming spring semester. We do anticipate having approximately 5 to 7 RA vacancies going into the spring semester. We are currently accepting applications for mid-year RAs. Excuse me. And so please consider applying. You can go into your My Housing, the application is there. There's a priority deadline of November 21st, and we will likely be holding interviews, doing our screening process, and then holding interviews after the November holiday. Any questions about this?
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Chris on this? Seeing none?
Okay, so the other thing, there's a lot kind of going on in residential life right now. But in addition to everything that we have going on, we're also we have a foot in the fall, and we're also have a foot in the spring. So we're kind of preparing to make that transition from fall to spring. We did have a spring intent process, so hopefully folks filled that out and let us know what your plans are for the spring, whether you're returning to housing, if you're withdrawing, transferring, going abroad, doing some type of internship. Those were due November 6th, but it is still open, so if by chance this is the first that you're hearing of it, again, please hop onto your My Housing, encourage students that you work with to hop onto their My Housing, and let us know what the plans are for the spring. And this is important because spring rollover or spring bills are going to go live on November 20th. So that is next week, Monday of next week. And so we want to make sure if students are not intending to return, we're not going to put, a spring housing and meal plan on their billing. We can make sure that we adjust for that. Okay, so just know also as a heads up that those spring bills will be loading on Monday. So you all will begin to see some of those charges come up. In terms, if you know folks who are, transferring or coming in as new first-year students, if they have questions, our spring housing application will also be live on Monday. So if you know someone who's planning on joining us in the Westfield community in the spring, please direct them to My Housing so that we can get them, get their application and make sure that they have housing for the spring semester. I'll probably come back and share a little bit more in terms of winter break. But in terms of those dates, I believe we will be closing the halls on December 21st. We will reopen For spring, January 13th through the 15th. So that's roughly kind of as we think about moving into the spring, when we'll be returning to campus. And then we anticipate that the housing application for fall of 24-25 will be open around February 20th. So now we begin to kind of step into the housing selection conversation. And right now, our anticipated housing selection dates are basically the end of March, early April. So we have a couple of days earmarked between March 25th and April 5th. This is roughly around the same time I think that we did it last year, for those who are returning. And as we think about housing selection, I know there's always a lot of energy around how the process that we choose, what that looks like, residents' experience going through the process. We want this to be as user-friendly and as positive of a process as possible. I will say that currently, this is not as positive of a process as we could have, right? There's, like I said, a lot of energy. Students often are very upset and disgruntled, and so we want to try and get ahead of that and get a sense of what would make the most sense for students. That having been said, we typically have a couple of populations that we need to make sure that we're accounting for when we think about housing selection. The first is any students who have an accommodation, and accommodations can range. Sometimes they're single rooms, sometimes they're ESAs, sometimes for dietary needs, it's access to a kitchen, sometimes it's access to air conditioning. These are just a few of the more common ones. But when we're thinking about housing selection, we need to make sure that students who have accommodations, that those reasonable accommodations are being met. So oftentimes we will select or have them select early to ensure that we're able to meet those needs. One of the things that we haven't traditionally, well, we do have it, but not earmarked as a separate process, is looking at gender neutral housing. So in theory, any space on campus can be gender neutral. However, I know we've gotten into some quandaries in the past with suites and apartments. So really thinking about individuals who want to have some type of gender neutral housing, and particularly in some of our areas that may be more specifically gendered, and particularly around bathroom usage. We also have living learning communities like our honors and theme or affinity housing. So individuals who may want to live together around a particular theme like substance free. We used to have that in the past. I don't believe we have it this year. And it's something that I know we've gotten some feedback from students that they might like to live in a community that's substance free. So that's a potential option. And affinity housing as well. So these are, again, just some of the student populations that we want to make sure we're taking into consideration and providing housing for. So that having been said, like I indicated, we really want to get a sense from you all, what are the needs? So if you are a student who went through housing selection at any point in your past on this campus, I have a couple of questions, or if you, as you've spoken with other individuals, you've gotten feedback from them. In terms of our housing selection on this campus, what has gone well? 3 questions. What hasn't gone well? I'm opening it up. And just kind of general feedback. So it probably makes sense for us to take these maybe one question at a time. And then we can kind of record what we've got for each of these. So does that sound good?
Sure.
Awesome.
So for the first question, are there any questions, comments, concerns? Jack Whitten.
Hi.
Hello, Jack.
I remember last year, since as a commuter, when I was still VP student life, I know the software last year was a big problem for a lot of people. I was just wondering if we got a different software, or if, like, there's, I guess just any software updates.
So THD was an issue last year.
Yeah, I remember it being a problem for a lot of students.
We still use THD. That having been said, we can definitely look and see what some of the issues were. And I know, so I think we're gonna end up kind of covering all 3 of these, or maybe more of the what didn't go well. So if you have specific instances where there were software glitches or things that occurred, if we know that now, we can try and get ahead of it before housing selection. But yes, we're still using the same software. I will share a note about THD. It stands for the Housing Director. It was recently purchased by another larger software company called StarRes. We have now, because of that transition, they're beginning to pull some of the support for the software, which is maybe why there were issues last year. But within the next year or two, we're gonna be looking at making a transition to a different housing software. But that's a little bit of a larger process because we have to get demos and then go out to bid and all of that sort of stuff. But we are looking at it because now THD has been basically purchased by another company. So yeah, great question.
Laura Navarro.
Hi everyone, just a little point of information, we're chatting about what went well for housing selection last year, please. So just make sure you're paying attention of like the guideline that Chris and Nick set up for you all, so it just gives Chris and her team the best kind of feedback and process too. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
I did see some hands, so do they pertain to what went well? So, Chris? Okay, Anderson Dulaire.
Hi Chris, thanks for coming. For what went well, I've had friends in the past, I've never picked housing here as an RA, but I've had friends in the past who might get stuck in housing that isn't ideal for them or don't work out, and I know Res Life and Housing does a really good job of fixing it and getting them to where they should or want or need to be by the time we move in, so you guys do good with that, so that's something that goes well.
Brandon Rita.
Hi, I just want to thank you so much for coming. What really helped me when I had issues was the face-to-face meetings. It was one of the best things I had with residential life, just being able to sit there and go over it and see the same things at the same time, made the communication so much more effective. I know for myself, I'm very much in person, but I just felt emails take very slow and can be disconnected, so I feel like a great thing residential life is just having those great conversations in person.
Awesome.
And I just thank you guys for all that time.
Thank you so much. We will continue those.
Austin Morgan.
Hi, Chris. I thought it was really cool. Going into my sophomore year, I was set to live with a group of 6, but unfortunately, because we were sophomores, everything filled up. We weren't able to live together. And then we were put on a list. And then when the apartments opened up, we were actually able to live as a 6-person group. So it was just really cool to be accommodated. And, you guys realizing that we weren't able to do what we wanted and then calling back to us and saying, hey, we are available now. It's really appreciated from us as a group to be accommodated like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Austin.
Ethan Hayes.
Hi. While the software was a little buggy last year, I did enjoy how I could see what rooms exactly were available rather than just saying University Hall has rooms available. I enjoyed seeing what section was available and what rooms specifically was available.
Great. Excellent.
Chris Carroll.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for coming down. First off, I just wanted to say thank you for, at the beginning of the year when I had a rough start, getting me out of a bad situation. I did want to say, even though I wasn't satisfied with my housing selection last year, I know a lot of juniors and seniors that were rising to work, and I was glad to be able to put into an accommodated single over the summer and moved out of where I was at. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Chris.
Is there any further on the point of what went well? Seeing none, we can move to the next question. What didn't go well? Daniel Carter.
Hi, Chris. So thank you for coming down today. I think the biggest issue that we discussed last semester was the issue of accommodations. With the closing of Lammers Hall, most of those students with accommodations ended up moving to New Hall. So that meant most of the students that were becoming seniors could not get anything in New Hall. It was a major concern really for a lot of us because we heard some of those accommodations that students got, and it got very concerning for us. We understand that Res Life does not control that process, and that's from Bonacos, but some of the accommodations are just honestly ridiculous, and we need to make sure that it's actually reasonable and that students that want to get certain housing can get that housing.
Thank you.
Daniel Lyons.
Hi, Chris. I was I'm still a part of the honors themed housing. And I noticed that last year, when we had to choose our housing, we had to, I think, email Res Life directly. We had to do it manually. We couldn't do it through the site. And so because we couldn't be sure if we got a room reserved for us, because it was first come first serve, I had to actually reserve another room. So I was kind of taking a room from someone who wasn't in honors housing. I had to go with one that was in Courtney. So I was just wondering if there's a way where we could do it so that if you are choosing themed housing, you could do it in the program, just so that you don't have to potentially take a room from someone and then have to withdraw from it and it creating a lot of issues.
Yeah, I think there would be a way to do that. What will likely, and I know I'm kind of looking at John, yes, hand raised.
The themed housing selection process is online. If you didn't sign up initially when you had the application, because we actually had a day where for themed housing the air was out there, so we did do it out there. We did at opening, so we offered it again. So it is normally through the THD, and you can pick your room, just a normal process before it starts.
The other thing I was gonna say too is if, some of the groups that I mentioned, what will likely happen is making sure that we get certain groups squared away prior to kind of general selection, and making sure that folks have their assignments, again, prior to, so that we're not having the double booking of rooms.
Right.
But I think that's definitely something that we can do using the system and then just confirming through our staff as well. Something,
Okay.
yeah.
Just as a point of information, make sure your comments are about the systems in general and try to keep them away from individual. I'm sure Chris and any of the Red Light staff would love to meet after or set up them further, but just for feedback purposes, make sure they're more major systems and less individualized. Liam Connor.
Hello, so I had a glitch last year where it said the system was down for maintenance and was dated 2 days prior as well as 5 years ago.
It's like a time warp. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Chris Perro.
Hello again. I just wanted to say, going off what Dan said about some of the accommodations, I know someone mentioned last year that someone got an accommodation in U-Haul because they were allergic to dust mites. And as someone who has an accommodation for a single, I think that, took away from someone like me. I also wanted to say that a lot of obviously this is part of the course, but sophomores tend to not get what they want. But I think with the Housing Fast Pass, that'll solve a couple problems. So I'm glad we're doing that.
Isabella Muniz.
Can I just have a point of information or say a point of information? When you have accommodations, you go through a whole process and there's a list of requirements that are needed in order to get those accommodations. I'm just not sure people are aware of the lengthy process in order to get housing accommodations specifically, aside from just learning accommodations academically. So there's a huge process, so definitely talk to Bonacos and Disability Services more directly, because they are the ones who connect you with everything you need for your accommodations to live on campus.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Sarah Harrington.
Hi, I don't know if this is fixable. I was in a rooming group of 5 and by the time we signed up, we were aiming to go for somewhere where one of us could buy out a double because we only had 5. And by the time we signed up, there was the only places that could hold 5 that were available was university. And in university, you have to fill all the beds in every room. So then we signed up, we weren't able to sign up because we weren't able to fill that last bed. That meant that we had to split up, so 3 of us ended up in a apartment in a triple bedroom, and then 2 of us stayed in university, and then eventually it got filled with guys, which wasn't very comfortable for them. So if there is a way to change the way that you must fill all the beds, I understand that some buildings you can't, but just being able to get into the system all together and then adjusting it after, even then, I feel like would be better than having us split up, and then that takes away from other people who were planning to sign up in the same room as we had already taken, so that messes up other people's groups as well. So that's the only thing I would
Caitlin.
Hi. If we're okay switching back to what went well, I have a couple things.
Thank you.
So the first is I'm a tour guide at Westfield, and something that parents and students really, really like is when we bring up the housing process, we say that the entire blueprint comes up and you can select your room or most really. There's just a lot of agency with that you're able to pick it yourself. So I think that's really cool, and I wanted to name that. Also, something that works really well is I'm forgetting. It was really good too. It was something you did really well. And
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, I definitely think that's a pull to Westfield for a lot of people. That's what I'm finding. Is the open forum? I think that was really great too, especially talking about the bathroom issues that we're having with whether to lock them, whether to not lock them, conditionally, different buildings, etc. I just think that there was a lot of great clarification and conversation, and I think if I don't know if a lot of departments came and took the time to come down and talk to us like that, I don't know, we feel more connected. So we feel really connected to residential life. So thank you for everything that you've been doing.
Ethan Haynes.
Just a quick thing, well, 2 quick things. First, do you have to request for co-ed housing?
You do not, but I'm wondering if there may be value in having some of that, because, to Sarah's point, it can happen where, folks can select in and then it becomes uncomfortable. So there may be value in reassessing what that looks like and being more intentional with those groups.
And so on that, last year we were told that there was a cap on COVID. Why?
That's a great question.
It looks like John's talking with point of contention.
There was a cap on COVID. The issue is once someone, if someone's stepping into a suite, if a suite or apartment has a certain gender in there already, we can't make that co-ed. So we have, we work on it. I'll tell you, during selection wise, we are constantly looking real time and trying to ask people out there. Suites and apartments to get filled when we've done it before with partial bedrooms, and that's the thing we always look at changing. Once someone sites in, we need to change that to that gender, because we know that someone should say male or female in there. We don't assume that they're okay with the co-ed room. So there's not really a cap, it's more of a limit to what we have space-wise out there. And we try to adjust that out there. So it's not, we don't say we only have 5 of them out there. If we have groups coming in together, all co-ed, we will have them in. If we need to, traditional halls, and it's different, we can change the system. Our system is very kind of open or closed. If we make it fully open, then we have an issue of people not being comfortable with that kind of product.
Chris Pierce?
Hi, I just want to add one more thing about what went well and what didn't go well. It's kind of one and the same. When you guys came down, rather when Reslight came down last year, because you weren't here obviously, and they came down right when the process was going on and people had already registered. I feel like coming down now in the fall semester or maybe early in the spring semester alleviates a lot of stress for like myself who was a freshman last year. So I feel like if we can do this again in future years, you guys come down fall, early spring, that would help us out a lot.
Absolutely. That was the plan.
Yes, and it's a spoiler alert. So you'll notice that we don't have rates, we're still in the process of budgeting, so room rates and things like that haven't been set yet. I believe those are coming up, if I'm not mistaken, with Steve Tex, our Vice President for Administration and Finance. But we're in the process of doing some of that. So I anticipate, Chris, that we'll be back at least another 2 to 3 to 4, maybe more times, to talk through not only what does next year look like, but what does the housing process look like and everything like that, because we want you all to feel as well educated on it as possible. I don't like surprises, and so I prefer not to surprise people if possible. And I recognize there's a lot of anxiety around housing selection.
Redress, Chris? Hi, how do you think, because I know obviously we're very involved in the housing process, we know how it works. How do you think we could get other students involved that aren't in SGA or aren't involved on campus to not have stress about it and to not to know how to do it?
That is a great question, and if anyone has the answer, please let me know. I think it's, I always talk about using a multi-pronged approach. So, email certainly is the old default and standby, and I say old intentionally because we know that students aren't always connecting to their emails. I will say we've brought in an intern who's going to be doing a little bit more around social media. So our hope is to be a little bit more present and active on Instagram, potentially Facebook, but doing more in terms of social media so that we're being a little bit more relevant and getting the message out maybe in smaller chunks. Is it Brandon? Yes. To Brandon's point, I think any time that we can make ourselves available to walk someone through a process is better. Whether that's, and I think in the past we have done housing sessions where it's like, let's walk you through what's going on. Certainly offering those up again. And then, I believe our staff, if we haven't been in the past, but I think we have, being available during housing selection times and making sure that our office is available. So when people are having issues and literally freaking out because it's like, what's going on? We're there and we're available to help walk folks through it. So it's a little bit of that. I think, anything we can do in terms of tabling in the DC, putting information out, maybe even on presence, doing programming around it. I think there are a multitude of ways that we can try and get the message out. And this is part of why I think we come to you all, since you all are the representatives on campus. I think we also look to you to talk with your networks and to make sure that students are aware of what's happening. Or, if you're like, gosh, I can't remember, let's head to residential life and let's talk to someone, right? Let's just go get the answer. So I think it's a little bit of kind of all of that, since people get information a little bit differently. I also know John is working with our marketing and communications department to look into software that will help do newsletters. And so potentially, I know, sorry to spam you all with more email type stuff, but having newsletters or some kind of publication that folks can read and take a look at to get some of that information and having it be more consistent as a publication.
Adam Carpenter?
So I'll start off, and that's next, I guess, with a little bit of information. That's like a large part of our job is then to make those connections. You know, that's why we interact with like Red Life staff, is so then we can then connect the general student who's not as involved to those resources to be able to have those conversations. You know, that's what makes the magic happen here. And then just this isn't as systematic as it could be, but it's a very personal one for me. Was as someone who applied to be an RA and then initially did not receive the position, like I set up all of my plans around like having the position, so I didn't want to plan to be in a roommate group with people. So like I didn't want to like shackle them, like having them drop someone from the roommate group. So having some sort of plan in place for those who are applying to be RAs, just in case maybe something good, so that they don't kind of get left astray when they like it's too late in the process and like everyone else already has plans. So like that was something important. Fortunately, I got the position in the end. I've been loving it so far. So
Happy to have you. Awesome. Thanks, Adam.
just consider.
Jacob Constant?
I just had an idea for maybe, from what Chris was saying, maybe having an RA event in specific dorms, being able to shed light of how the process works.
And particularly, I think in first-year halls,
Yeah.
for folks who haven't necessarily been through the process in the same way. And it's great to have refreshers in other halls as well. Thank you.
Is there any further? Oh, sorry, Lloyd Black?
So I know last year, so the communication wasn't the greatest. It was like a brick wall. It was a lot better than the year prior because there was no communication at all that year. But I would like to see some sort of maybe chat feature or something that is much more easier, or just having somebody making sure that they're monitoring the housing email, because every time I've ever, or any of my friends have ever reached out to the housing email, never have we ever gotten a response. We had to go and email somebody else to get one. So I just want to make sure that it's not like running around playing cat and mouse. It just adds so much stress. I know that you guys do try a lot, and there's so much that's always happening with so many students. I just want to put that out there to try and make it a little bit easier so students can contact you guys or maybe get an answer within a few moments, and then it puts less stress on y'all, so it's already answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask a quick follow-up question on that? How many of you all use Teams or are familiar with Teams? Okay, because I'm wondering if we might be able to utilize or set up some kind of Teams function where folks could reach out and almost do like a chat to some extent in that way. So that's something we can maybe look at. I'm just thinking of like what, I know there are other institutions that have like free chat features, but if we have Teams, if we set something up like that, do you think folks would feel comfortable utilizing it? I see some nods. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Sorry, I just had some feedback. I know that there's a 2-week housing freeze period, and I had some problems during that time because I didn't know I was like going to be available for certain accommodations in Bonacos. So when I did get those accommodations, I had to wait 2 weeks before I received them, and it was like it strained my academics for a little bit. So I was just wondering if that process or that freeze period could be shortened a little for people first years who didn't know. Or
Yeah, and I'm happy to share. So the part of the reason why we do a room freeze, and I will admit, it is purely administrative. So I don't love doing processes that are for our benefit, as it were. And I think so a couple of things. One is the reason we institute room freezes is so we can kind of make sure that everyone is where they need to be. So it literally is, you all probably know, you see your RA during that time, it's like, hey, are you in your room? Yep. And so it really is for us a way to double check, triple check, that we have all of our wonderful residents in their beds where they're supposed to be, that type of thing. And then we actually are held accountable for what we call our occupancy numbers. And we have to send that occupancy report to the MSCBA. Are folks familiar with the MSCBA? Have you heard that alphabet soup before? Yeah. So it's basically the building authority that kind of oversees all of the housing inventory in all of the state colleges and universities. But so it takes us about 2 weeks to kind of make sure that we have everyone where we need them to be. But that having been said, there are certainly times where, we know pretty early on that we need to make some room changes. And so even during that freeze period, we will sometimes make moves if it is, an emergency or some type of an urgent situation. And I will say, if we're able to get folks and get some of those numbers sooner rather than later, then yes, that tends to be what drives our freeze period. 2 weeks it's a pretty healthy time. And usually we can get it a little bit sooner than that. So I think we can try and work to maybe lessen it a little bit. But then what I would ask for you all is if you're residential students or if you're working with residents, just encourage them to make sure that they're checking in during those, first couple of days that they're back on campus, so we can, get the okay and make sure that we can move forward. So yeah, thank you.
Chris Bureau?
Hi, I just want to follow up to Loic's point about the housing process and with availability of housing. So I know John and Brian are very available with their emails. The housing email isn't always the fastest response, but I know you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
That ends the comment, sorry. Joseph Bonilla? I withdraw. Is there any further? Seeing none. Thank you, Chris.
All right, awesome. So I will say, again, we'll be back. I will be back. Thank you all for having me. And if you do need us, please feel free to reach out. We are always available. I think we'll probably stay after. So if you have questions or additional comments, thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you again to Chris and Resley for coming down and showing your support every week at SGA. The reception for feedback is always great, so we enjoy it. Hello, everyone. I would like to thank you all for being amazing. As I knew you would be last week in my absence. Last Tuesday was quite a lot for me, so I did take a step just to take a moment for myself, which I needed. So I thank you all for all your amazing feedback with Tony and working in that facet. I also want to thank my wonderful exec board and obviously Jack Wyndon, who did take temporary president in my place. But you guys did amazing, so I appreciate it in my absence. You guys continue the SGA energy. I want to thank all of you who helped with the turkey drive, especially Matt Delia and Haley Kane. Matt helped us raise some money through the turkey trot, and Haley Kane was the one who helped put us on with the turkey drive this year, and I think every year so far. So thank you, Haley. I want to remind you all that part of your role as being part of our Senate is making sure you do help in things like the turkey drive or things that come up in the future. So make sure to sign up and help out because it helps better our community. I want to thank you. I want to thank those of you who did sign up and help. I know you guys helped collect money for a good cause, so pat on the back to all of you. Woo. This is a quick little point I added today. I met with Kurt Morris, the outreach member for the Counseling Center today. Kurt and I discussed what counseling means to Westfield State University and our campus. Kurt is a person that I will be inviting to SGA very soon to let him talk to students about what the Counseling Center has been doing and what they want to do in the future, as well as to keep them engaged with students and make them know it a bit more on campus. Kurt also asked me to let you all know that there will be massage therapy outside of the gym in Beverly on Friday with massage chairs for 15 minutes. That's pretty fun. I was not given a time frame, so just periodically stop by and maybe get a workout in if they're not there. Dan and I are meeting with President Thompson for lunch on Friday. If there's any significant issues, ideas, or thoughts you guys want us to discuss with her, please let Dan or I know after this report or after the meeting, so we can ask President Thompson. Chief Tony, who you guys met last week, let me know if there is a second shuttle running from 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. on Sunday nights to hopefully make dropping your cars off in Southwood on Sunday night a bit easier. A quick reminder, this week is our group bonding trip. Please make sure to meet at the front of Skinman Hall at 5:45 p.m. because the bus will leave by 6. The Thunderbirds are playing the New York Comets, which is a team from New York, so it should be a good game. If you guys have yet to like the message in the group meet, if you're going or not, please make sure to like the message or talk to Laura and I after the meeting, just to let us know so we have a head count. Lastly, I have a little gift for all of you. We are not meeting next Tuesday, 11/21. That is your holiday break. I hope you all enjoy. I know I will as well. So the next SGA meeting after this one will be 11/28.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Nicholas? Seeing none. Thank you, Nicholas.
Board of Trustees report. Daniel Courier.
Jack, Sarah, and I met virtually last Friday to finalize our draft Common Hour policy for submission to governance. We'll be reconvening tomorrow to discuss our letter to governance, explaining our proposal, along with the acquisition of data and supporting evidence. Prior to our submission, the Executive Council and the Legislature will have an opportunity to comment on this proposal. I do want to note, however, that this process will take time in order for us to gain stakeholder buy-in. Jack and I met this afternoon with Dick Lenfest, as you know, Director of Athletics, and Carden Brown, who's the coordinator of Campus Recreation intramurals, to discuss how we can effectively market intramurals to prospective and current Westfield State students, utilize the network for athletic games and events, and expand opportunities for campus recreation. I am pleased to report that the meeting was successful and brought to light some of the challenges that athletics have been facing over the past several years. With the anticipated opening of the Parenzo Gym in January of 2024, we can expect intramurals to come alive once again. Intramurals will be offered at more convenient times in a more accessible location. The intramural webpage will be updated to reflect current offerings, and marketing will be more streamlined. Both Jack and I vouch for the use of the network in order for athletics to broadcast game information to the campus community, track student engagement, and incentivize engagement through a virtual frequent flyer program where students are rewarded for scanning into a certain number of athletic events. More work will be done on this in the future. Finally, we discussed how to acquire additional funding for campus recreation on campus. There has been talk in the past about removing the waivable $92.50 per semester fee for the fitness center and requiring a $70.5 per semester fee for all students that will be used to support all forms of campus recreation, including the fitness center, intramurals, club sports, and more. To ensure that campus recreation activities are financially supported, this may be an option worth considering moving forward. Should you have any questions, please let me know.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Daniel Courier? Daniel Evans.
So if everyone's going to be paying the fee, would you still need to sign into the fitness center, or would it be open to all students?
So under that plan, anyone would be able to use the fitness center to be required to pay that fee. So the idea, this is just an idea that was thrown out. This has been talked about in prior years. This is something that I know I've discussed with Dick because currently financially, we haven't raised that fee in so long. And also we need to support our intramurals and our club sports with additional funding. So that's been something we discussed today.
Just a point of information, you still do have to fill out like a security form before you can use the gym, and then that's when you get the little sticker on your ID. So you would have to have that sticker to get into the gym, and you have to fill out that form before.
Okay, thank you.
Matt D'Elia.
The scanning to track who's a member and who's not, they also use that as data collection to determine hours and when they get to staff the gym appropriately. So you'll probably still have to do some sort of sign-in or selected so that they can say when peak times are.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt. Any further?
Yeah, again, this is just a proposal, this is just being discussed, so nothing will be finalized.
Seeing none. Thank you, Dan. Student Advisory Council, Dan Courier.
The Student Advisory Council met virtually last Thursday, November 9th, for a workshop on student basic needs security. The workshop allowed student government presidents and student trustees to discuss various projects at each campus and learn about what the Department of Higher Education and state lawmakers are doing to support our fellow students. The state legislature is currently debating a supplemental budget for FY24. Among the appropriations in the supplemental budget will be funds for public colleges and universities, specifically earmarked for behavioral health, student housing support, food insecurity, and much more. These funds will be distributed on a modified enrollment basis. A bill on Beacon Hill will soon be debated to require all institutions of higher education in the Commonwealth, along with middle and high schools, to list the suicide prevention hotline number 988 on student ID cards. The Student Advisory Council was warm to the idea of a joint letter to state lawmakers urging them to pass this bill. Finally, the Student Advisory Council discussed various projects that our institutions have been working on to address student basic need security. Some highlights from the meeting include a Swipe It Forward program where students can donate up to 10 meal swipes each semester to students in need, a 24-hour healthy food program known as Farm to Fridge, and a centralized one-stop shop for students facing food and housing insecurity. Some of these ideas, albeit in a modified manner, may be worth considering here at Westfield State University, and some of that stuff we already do already. Should you have any questions, please let me know.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Dan Courier? Seeing none, thank you, Dan. Vice President of Sports Supervisor Jack Whitney.
Good evening, everyone. The first 2 points on my report, Dan took, so we can skip ahead, so it's good for time. On Friday, I met with VP Hearn to discuss a few things. One of the main points of discussion was traditions here at Westfield State. He brought up 2 main ideas that I like, and I wanted to see how Senate and the rest of SGA like them. The first idea was to move the owl statue that is right out on the steps there to a more central location that would make it more accessible and kind of make it like a good luck thing. Like some colleges have where before a game or a test, you can like, I guess tap the owl's head for good luck. I kind of like the idea. The second idea was to get giant letters that would spell out WSU. So during or after commencement or just during the year on campus, there's like a spot to take photos so people know that you're at Westfield State. And then the last thing I had was that public safety sent that email out on Saturday, just mentioning how 6 individuals were arrested, and that it seems like, from what I've heard, that the gate where like the fence in South Lot is moving along pretty quick. And that's all I have.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Jack Whitney and Ethan Haynes?
Hey Jack, first off, I want to shout out our boys in blue here at Westfield State. They got them. I'm very proud of that. So, I recently know my car is safe. I can't remember how so thank you.
Okay, Egan.
Hi, Jack. I didn't see a food services report, so I'm gonna ask it now. Any idea what the huge thing is in the DC with like microgreens and growing stuff? Like, do you know anything about that?
Yep, so it's kind of like, well, like you said, yeah, it's a hydro plant thing where they're gonna grow their own like herbs and vegetables in the DC, so that way we have like fresh vegetables and herbs, I guess. I don't have a great way to describe it, but
It's good.
Any further? Chris Carroll?
Do you have a number of how much that big giant glass rope thing cost?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Any further? Seeing none. Thank you, Jack. Vice President Report, Academic Officer.
Sorry, that was not funny. Hi everyone, the Advisory Committee for Academic Planning met on Thursday, November 9th. We continue going over the individual themes and discussing how and when to use high-impact practices. In Theme 1, Innovative Pedagogy and High-Impact Practices, we discussed better ways of assessing the work done in the classroom, using common language, and better onboarding practices. In Theme 2, Student Ready and Student-Centered, we focus primarily on readiness and practices and how it is important for faculty to be able to work with ever-evolving and changing student population. There are 3 main ways that students are either prepared or not prepared to enter college, which are academic, social, and mental preparedness. We discuss how to support students who may not be prepared. Our rough timeline is as follows. October to December 2023, we're developing the academic master plan draft in committee and subcommittee sessions. December 2023, the goal is to distribute draft for feedback. January 24, redistribute draft for feedback, and then late January, early February 24, integrate feedback into a final draft, and then February 21st, 2024, submit the final plan. Moving on, there's now an open spot on UCC that needs to be filled. We have a lot of proposals coming in, so our Friday meeting has been extended to 3:30, so now it's 1:40 to 3:30. And there will also be an additional meeting time added to compensate for the level of proposals. This date has not been set yet, so if you're interested in joining UCC, please let me know after this meeting so that we can get your availability over to the chairs immediately so we can figure out that last day. On to my last point, I met with the provost today to discuss Dan, Jack, and I's common hour proposal. He said that we could go with him on January 29th to the all chairs meeting to present this proposal, which is very exciting. This will allow us to get a faculty insight before sending it over to governance. We discussed changing in scheduling since this is an important correlation to adding a common hour. He said that in fall 24, they'll be implementing a restriction on the number of classes held during prime time. Prime time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday is 9:30 to 1:25, and Tuesday, Thursday, it's 9:45 to 2. So this will mean that no department will be allowed to hold more than 60% of their classes during this time. This is to refrain from overlapping mandatory courses in all majors. I know that this has been a big problem for me in education, so this is honestly kind of good. It's exciting. If you have any ideas or input, if you'd like me to reach the provost, my next meeting with him is on December 12th. If you need to reach me, my office hours are Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 to 12:45, and Friday from 12:30 to 1:30. My email is vp@sga.westfield.ma.edu.
Are there any questions for Sarah Harrington or Faro?
Hi, could you just please explain what UCC is and like why it would be good for a student to join that community?
UCC is University Curriculum Committee. We are basically looking at new courses, with changes, whether that's in description, whether that's in just the course title sometimes, or what the curriculum in the course will be. We review it, vote on it, send it off to the next committee. It's actually really cool to see the new courses that are going to be brought up, and then it's really important to have a student perspective in that. So yeah, join with me and Scott.
Thank you.
Are there any others? Seeing none, thank you, Sarah. Vice President Support Student Equity, Joseph Bonilla.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is great to see all of you this afternoon. I have a very brief update. Take a deep breath. On the successor committee that I have been working on. I have met with campus partners, i.e. Dr. Pierce, Father Savage, not to live, but I and others to review and make revisions to my draft for the charge of the proposed advisory committee for the advancement of equitable representation. I met with Laura today, and we'll be reaching out to different areas of the different areas on campus throughout the next week to begin putting together this committee. With some minor revisions, this committee is expected to begin meeting in January. For those of you who are looking to join, stay tuned for more updates. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions you may have, either after this report, during my office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. or via email vpequity.sga@westfield.ma.edu. As always, I'll leave you guys with a quote. Brene Brown once said, "You are imperfect. You are wired for struggle, but you are worthy of love and belonging." Thank you.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Joseph Bonilla? Laura Cafaro.
Hi, just a kudos. You found a gap in a committee that was missing, and it's a lot of work that you're taking on. You're getting with a lot of people, even though it annoys you, I'm like, go talk to that person. So this good job is taking a lot of time, and I think it can be overseen. So
thank you.
Any further? Seeing none, thank you, Joseph. Vice President Support, Finance Committee, Kaylin Westcott.
okay, so good evening, everyone. I just want to preface this report by giving Senate a rundown on what Finance Committee is and the processes it goes through. So the Finance Committee is a great opportunity to learn how to make unbiased and real-world decisions regarding finance. When clubs and organizations submit a finance proposal, they'll first go to Laura Cafaro, for approval, and then myself, the VP of Finance, to present to Finance Committee. The club/organization is then given the opportunity to send a representative to Finance Committee to give the committee more context on the use of the funds, past and future fundraising attempts, etc. Once the committee makes a decision to accept, amend, deny, or table the proposal, it is then sent to Senate. Senate will be given a description of the information presented to Finance Committee by the proposal form and was discussed with the representative. The reporting member of Finance Committee will then make a motion for the proposal to be accepted, and then the floor is open to questions. I know we've already gone through this before, just to make sure that you guys are all aware of the options available. After questions are concluded with a vote, a vote will be conducted, either a voice vote or a roll call vote. A voice vote is similarly to what we've done in the past. And then a roll call vote has to be requested, and then each individual person is called on to state their voice. I just want to make sure that everybody is well aware of what Finance Committee does and what the role of Senate is. Okay, now on to the fun part, finance proposals. Okay, so our allocation pool is currently $18,925 for our first proposal. The first proposal is from the Gerontology Club. The club is requesting $50.35 for an arts and crafts night, for writing letters to hospice patients in long-term care facilities. The funds will be used to purchase the materials necessary to create letters. The Finance Committee decided unanimously to allocate the $50.35 for the purchase of these materials. I motion to accept the Gerontology Club's proposal of $50.35 for the purchase of materials for their arts and crafts night.
It has been motioned to give $50.35 to Gerontology for Arts and Craft Night. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for the motion? Adam Carpenter.
Can we get a little clarity as to what materials means? That's just very vague.
Do you want to put in information?
I can.
I have not been giving this information, so.
So on the Excel sheet, the materials include cardstock, gerontology present here. What's it called? Cardstock, which is just like white paper. Construction paper, glue, glitter, scissors, pretty much just that. It just, and markers and pens. Thank you. I forgot about that. But yeah, that's all the materials.
Ethan Haynes.
I was just wondering if the club had attempted any fundraising opportunities to fundraise this $50.
Point of information. The club is newly running, so we haven't had the opportunity to fundraise since we started running up this semester, but we are currently thinking of fundraising for the spring semester.
Dan Courier.
Hi, I'm wondering if the club has obtained any of the materials or talked to any of the other departments about those materials.
Hi again, another bit of information, or whatever it's called. No, we have gotten other supplies from the health science department, like stickers and other things that we could add on, but we haven't reached out further beyond that.
Chris Para.
I withdraw.
Are there any further? Okay, we can move to voting. The motion on the floor is, it has been motioned to give $50.35 to Gerontology Club for Arts and Crafts Night. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nay. Abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay. On to the next proposal. So the second proposal is from the Athletic Training Club for the Eastern Athletics Trainers Association Conference. They originally requested $2,720.50 on their original request, but after communication with the representatives, they informed us that the number had dropped to $1,567.50. The club has a current balance of $1,296.64. They have done some fundraising and have raised $270 between two fundraisers, and they do have several more planned. The total cost of the conference is averaging close to about $4,000. The finance committee decided unanimously to amend the amount to the amount allocated to $1,034.50. Okay. I motion to accept the amended athletic training club's proposal of $1,034.50 for the Eastern Athletic Trainers Association Conference.
Second. It has been motioned and seconded to accept the amended totals of the Eastern Athletic Conference. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on the motion? Christina?
You said they were working on fundraising. Did they tell you specifically what they have planned?
So they're working with, I believe, they said 5 guys, and possibly another chain. I'm doing like a 20% night, where 20% of what's sold goes back to the club. And then they're also working on a couple other things that, like t-shirt sales, that type of thing.
Any further? Dan Carrier?
Just for context, has Academic Affairs provided any funding for this?
As far as I know, and as far as they told me, they haven't talked about that.
Any further? If there's no further, we can move on to voting. Again, the motion stands to accept the amended amount for the Eastern Athletic Conference. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Caitlin? Seeing none, thank you, Caitlin. Vice President's report, publicity, Elizabeth Mercer.
Hello. Last Thursday, Haley, Isabella, and I met with the Neighborhood Advisory Board and discussed the newsletter and had Tony from the police as our guest speaker. We look forward to continuing planning events for the neighbors to join us on campus. The dining hall is having a cooking class with Maria tomorrow at 5 p.m. in the dining hall. Jedi is headed to the West Springfield Cinemark to see the Killers of the Flower Moon movie. The theater arts department is having the Peter and the Starcatcher play at 8 p.m. in the Ely Studio Theater. The Gerontology Club is having the World Kindness Day writing cards to hospice patients on Thursday in the Owl's Nest at 4 p.m. Jedi is also having the cup decorating night on Thursday at 6 p.m. Create Your Own Name Tag is today in Newhall from 6 to 8. And I look forward to going to the Thunderbirds game this Friday. Thank you.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Elizabeth Mercer? Joseph Padilla.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for reporting. I just have important information about the ready nurse hospice patients. The location originally was supposed to be at the Owl's Nest, but has been moved to the University Hall meeting rooms A and B, so that's the rooms parallel to the multipurpose room. Apologies for that.
Any further? Seeing none, thank you, Elizabeth. Neighborhood Advisory Board, Haley King.
As Elizabeth mentioned, the Neighborhood Advisory Board met last Thursday at 4 o'clock. We discussed the newsletters and I shared all the ideas with everyone at the meeting. One of the only suggestions was to add in the bookstore hours in case anyone wanted to come, unless it's big merch. And also to definitely dine comments, and then even just letting them know that they can come to our Dunkin' Donuts on campus, so then they'll know those hours. And then it also suggested that Laura and I talk to Colleen at the Interview Center. She's the one that plans a lot of the events or could update us on the latest calendars. So that is something that we'll be doing. So we can include the interface events in our newsletter. Our next step for the newsletter is to write up drafts of each section of the newsletter and then send out to the rest of the board for feedback before it goes all the way to marketing. And then I also confirmed that these newsletters will be mailed to all the addresses that we have on file, so that pretty much reaches like most of all the streets right near our university. And also the newsletters will be sent in email too. The emails will just be for the ones that we have on file, but everyone that is in our neighborhood advisory board system will be getting the newsletters in the mail. Through our newsletters, we're hoping to collect more emails though, just because we're always looking for either more members or just so that people are on our email list. And finally, on December 5th, there is the Wind Symphony, thank you guys, event at 7:30 at the new Denver Auditorium. So this event will be advertised in our newsletters as long as we can get them sent out before December 5th. If not, the event details will always be sent out in the emails, and maybe we'll like come up with another way that we can promote the event. But the goal is obviously to get the newsletters sent out, hopefully like right after Thanksgiving break, so that week they can have them. And like I said, the newsletters will be at the event too for anyone that didn't get one or wants to look at them. And that event will be open to all our NAB members. Most likely there'll be a social beforehand the event, so we can greet everyone before the event, talk to them. And the next NAB meeting will be in January, so all feedback for the newsletters along with planning for the event will all be through email. So just please let me know if you have any questions.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Haley Kane? Chris Barrow?
Can I just ask how many people are getting this newsletter?
So basically, I think the streets are basically anywhere all the way down to like Route 20, I think, so like Bates Road, and then all the way up to like where like Highland School is, so like past like where Bay State Hospital. So, rough estimate, all those streets. I don't have the exact number, but there you go.
Any further? Seeing none, thank you, Haley. Class of 2025, Anderson Debater.
What's up, everybody? I'm Anderson Blair from the class of 2025. I'm one of our SGA reps, along with our class publicist. So our class council met yesterday to discuss what direction we are going for fundraising this year. We will be doing a class of 2025 sweatshirt and t-shirt fundraiser in the next month. T-shirt fundraiser in the next month, right in time for the holiday season. We have a design picked out and are currently working on getting the cost down and a platform for students and parents to order, with the hope of getting that out within the next week. Now, real quick, I want to thank Katie Egan for starting a tradition last year with the Halfway There event. It has inspired our class to hopefully start a tradition of our own in this next fundraiser. So our other fundraiser idea is something we've been cooking up for the last few years, and we're finally going to give it a try. But we're going to need a few volunteers from the class of 2025. I didn't interrupt you. We are thinking of doing a class of 2025 fireman calendar. Now, before you come far ahead, we are planning to have funny pictures of different people for each month in the calendar, with perhaps a few special guests. We're still working out the kinks, but want to see if anyone would be interested in being part of the calendar and perhaps having their photo in it for a month. So let me hear your thoughts. This is not what you think it would be serious and to raise money for our class. So this is serious. It's just a fun.
Is it in your report? Yes. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Anderson? Sarah Harrington.
Okay. First question, what are you planning for like the costs for the sweatshirt and the t-shirt?
So the sweatshirts, I believe right now the price point it's at is $30. Yeah, 30. And
right now they're 40. We're trying to get them down to 30, and then we'll charge like 35. This is a fundraiser.
Yeah, so it's going to be a fundraiser. So the base cost of it would be like $30. We're going to sell them for $35, just so it would make it clear it's a fundraiser. It's not so scamming. We're trying to like make this sense.
My next question, firemen, just men?
Well, so if you know the type of calendar I'm talking about, it's usually men doing it because that's much traditionally firemen is a male job, but we are thinking traditionally no fire person, not how it should be, but that's what they were made. That's what the calendars usually are. We're following that. We did it because the guys on our class council felt comfortable with doing that. So and we decided to do it that way. Do you think, my question to you would be, if we decided to be a girls' calendar, would that have gone over well? Or do you think it should be unisex
Yeah.
both?
If there are females who want to do it, let
Okay, thank you, we'll take that into consideration.
Jack Linden.
I understand. I volunteer.
You already in it, you're on class council.
Great.
Austin Morgan.
Hi, Anderson. I also volunteer to be on the calendar.
I knew you were, thank you.
Brandon Reno.
I also volunteer.
Let's tailor the conversation back towards positive feedback. Are there any more questions, comments, or concerns? Justin Wall.
No, kidding. Can you go into detail about the calendar, please?
Okay, so I'm sure it sounds silly and it's funny, but like that's why we're doing it because I know like I've talked to my like, family and friends who don't go here and they said they would buy one because they think it would be funny to see me in a picture at least once or twice throughout the year for that. It would just be us and kind of like a satire on those calendars more or less, kind of making fun of like how overly overdone they are in that area. And we would be doing it kind of as a satire on that, but it's still funny enough that you could see your friends in a funny pose and they would buy it, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
Keep the names.
What is the estimate of cost for these and will pre-orders be available?
We are still working out the cost of this. We want to make sure we have enough interest of a diverse group of people on the calendars, so to make it worthwhile, and then we'll be able to make it a reality and figure out the price, and yeah, pre-orders will be available.
Kate Legan.
I understand. I would just caution you, or maybe just like something to think about, food for thought, that maybe just your friends and relatives will buy them, so that really decreases your, like, how many people are going to be interested. Not saying you all don't have a lot of wonderful friends and family, just that is going to significantly limit who's going to buy it. So your fundraiser might be better tailored if it was more specific, more general to everyone, not specific.
Thank you, Katie. That's kind of why we're trying to open it up. Since it's a donation to the class of 2025, we were thinking try to get people in our class to do it since it's raising money for us. So that's why we want like a lot of people, because like I know people and Austin knows people on this campus, and we know different groups of people. So it would kind of widen the bubble. But that's why I said special guest in there. So maybe the SGA president would want to lend their look, if you feel comfortable with that. You're just like the most special guest I can think of. That would also help. So that's why we're opening up for not just people we know and we're friends with. So thank you for your concern, but does that answer your question? Or? Thank you. Thank you for
Nicholas Smith.
Ooh, the irony.
Oh.
Like Katie, I would kind of caution you in the direction of maybe going for a photo calendar. I might recommend kind of tailoring away from the original idea. I don't know what student affairs would think of that. I'm not looking at that because that's like a. But
I like it.
Okay.
It's something that has been done before, it's just a matter of making sure.
I was gonna say, I trust you all to have the right conversations in the right areas. I just want to make sure that those are followed because obviously you all represent the school and I want to make sure that it's positive.
We would definitely make sure that it's nothing like inappropriate or too explicit. It would, like I said, it'd be like a satire, kind of making fun of how those can be.
I just want it on the record. Christina?
I have two things. Are you gonna be in fireman suits? And also, I nominate Dan Collier.
First of all, you cannot nominate someone else. It's based off of if they feel comfortable participating in it. I don't think that was. All right. Anyways, also, no, it won't be fireman suits. It'll be tailored to each month. So for like New Year's, we would like, for example, Nick, our class president's birthday is in January, so he would be in that. Really did something for New Year's. Okay. So it wouldn't be. We say fireman's calendar because like they're the ones who do it and they get you the idea of pumping. But it would be tone to the month.
Joseph Padilla?
I mean, sorry, the collaborative portions of it, maybe you could consider putting people's birthdays on it. So like setting out a form and be like, hey, if you want your birthday on the calendar, we can put that there. And you know, like it shows everyone who counts his birthday.
I like that idea, Joseph. Thank you. Write that down.
Any further? Seeing none. Thank you, Anderson.
Thank you.
What a fun time to be president. New representative, no is.
Hi everyone, good evening.
James McDonald, the other U-Haul representative, and Sam, the RT of U-Haul, held an event yesterday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the U-Haul Common Room. The event was to help students connect and also to see if students have any comments, questions, or concerns about U-Haul or future events they'd like to see in the building. We had a total of 12 attendees, which was more than we were hoping for, so thank you to all who attended. In the future, I will be continuing to meet with Sam weekly about future events, comments, questions, and concerns regarding U-Haul. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to contact me at imonis5895@westfield.ma.edu or James McDonald at jmcdonald4748@westfield.ma.edu. Thank you.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Isabella? Dan Courier.
Hey Isabel, I want to commend you and James for doing the event. I know this is something that's been done in the past with hall representatives before COVID, and I'm really hoping that we see more of this. I would encourage, of course, all hall representatives, if you can meet with your RD or ARD. This goes along with the job of just making sure you're communicating with that person. So hats off to you guys.
Technically, are there any further? Seeing none, thank you. Woo! Community Relations and Fundraising Representative Haley King.
Hi again. So thank you again for everyone's participation in the turkey drive for SGA. We are in the process of handling donations, so we'll have an update for you guys next meeting. I also just want to let you know about an event that I am planning. I'm the chair of it. It's Circle K Club here at Westfield, and this year we're bringing back Breakfast with Santa. So this is a part of the community event prior to the pandemic. So before I even started college, it went on for many, many years. And we are finally bringing it back this year, which is really exciting, but also would be terrifying, but very exciting. So I'm the chair, and I'm looking for volunteers for the event. So this event is on Saturday, December 2nd in the Dining Commons. So we're working with Dining, have their full support. And the first seating begins at 8:30. So if you were to volunteer, maybe just come around like 8 o'clock, just so I can get you all set up, tell you what you're doing for the morning. And then the second seating begins at 10:30. So same thing, just come around 10 o'clock. And you don't have to do full seatings. I know it's early, so if you'd rather just come to the second one, that is totally okay too. And then we're also looking for volunteers to help with check-in guests when they arrive. So we'll have a seating chart just to make it easier for all the families that are coming, walk their guests to their tables, assist with the craft table. We'll have the coloring table as well, help with cleanup, and so much more. So tickets were on sale last week, and we were expecting a large crowd at full seatings, especially, like I said, this is the first year we're bringing it back. I truly understand that this is the end of the semester. However, this is a really fun community event, and it will only really be successful if we have enough volunteers. And I thought state government would be a good group to let you all know, as you're all student leaders here on campus. Also, please let me know if you're part of any groups on campus that require any service hours, as we can sign off on that. So far, we're just Kappa Delta Pi, so the Education Honor Society. And I know nursing students need a lot of hours and athletes as well, but if I'm missing anything, just let me know. And if you are interested in volunteering, just let me know either after this meeting or sometime in the next week or so, and I can provide you more details. So yeah, just let me know. Thank you.
Is there any questions, comments, or concerns for Haley? Kayla Westcott.
Hi, Haley. So I just want to say I love this event. It's amazing. I love all the community events that all the areas on campus do. So I know I'm speaking for Cav here, but we we'd love to help you out with it. So if you can give us the information for it, we can see if we can get any students on our end.
And I do know that that is the New York City trip. It was just, this tradition has always been on the first Saturday in December, and I was advised not to really change it. And then the following Saturday is the open house, so we can't really do anything in the Dining Commons. And then at that point, we're away. So we kind of had to do that, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Any further? Chris Parra?
I hope you're aware that not everyone celebrates Christmas. And
Yes.
what do you think is going to be the implications to the students that may be offended by this event?
So I talked to dining, because that was a problem like this in the past. I guess a few years ago, before we went home for the spring break, we decorated the DC. So, I mean, I wasn't here. So I guess like the superintendent decorated the DC all Christmassy, which I think was a little too early to do before Thanksgiving. So Diane recommended that like we don't decorate until Thursday night or even like Friday night. And we just kind of do a quick roll through for like the day, and then like right after the event, all the decorations are gone. So it wouldn't be staying up in the DC the whole time. That's like I understand your concerns, and I was also thinking of that too.
Point of information, I'll stand for this one. Because all of our veteran Westfield State people are no longer in the room. Like Haley said, it is a tradition for Westfield State University. The Westfield Town Committee has been asking for it back, and it's kind of viewed like the equivalent of like having a Santa at a mall. Obviously, our goal is to try to celebrate everyone's holidays or celebrations in an area, so I'm sure.
Yes,
Speaking on behalf, but I'm sure they'd be more than happy to kind of collaborate on some of those traditions back, like we're doing for the holiday at the end of this month, so.
Yes, and I also just want to let you know that we do have President Thompson's approval on this event, and I don't want to speak for her, but I would probably say that if she really did, knowing that I have her approval just makes me feel better about doing this event, even though I do also see the other side. If that makes sense.
Any further? Seeing none, thank you, Haley. Is there any new business? Seeing none, announcements. Jack within.
I've got this in my report. Thursday morning, I believe at 10:30, the room by Duncan, we be here and have our joint office hours. So if you have any concerns, please stop by.
Ethan Hayes.
Unfortunately, I will be unavailable during my office hours tomorrow, so if you need me, email me.
Kayla Muscott.
I just wanted to remind everybody that finance proposals need to be submitted 24 hours in advance of the finance committee meetings, which this semester we're meeting Thursdays at 3:30, so finance proposals need to be in by 3:30 that Wednesday.
Dan Courier.
The County and Finance Club will be holding Introduction to Financial Advisory Services, so please invest in your future and go to the event.
Or Caro.
Hi, just a reminder, to see me if you're planning on going to our Thunderbirds outing on Friday. I know it was 18 of you like the message in the group meet, so if you forgot to do that or just were confused or anything, might not have gotten to the group meet, and that message, just catch me on your way out so that we're all set with it. We have more than enough tickets, but I just want to remind you all.
Sarah Harrington.
Again, please come up to me if you want to join UCC.
Me. Hey everyone. Sorry. It's a thought I'm gonna forget. There's an open house this weekend, so I encourage you guys to come to Westfield State Gear, help support a club organization that you're a part of, even SGA, because you all are SGA members, then we'll stop by. A lot of families talked to me and one of the exec members last time about what we do, and we kind of started a lot of those conversations. So, also, don't forget to pack up till after roll call. Any further announcements? Kate Egan.
185 days until commencement.
Roll call.
All right, I'm doing this really fast. Caitlin Egan.
Here.
Timothy Allen. Here. Isabel Patel.
Here.
Scott Guan.
Here.
Nick Palumbo. Anderson DeLay. Here. Kate Glanville. Here. Justin Wall. Here. Crystal Mills. Naomi Britta. Travis McLaughlin. Here. Patty Soa.
Here.
Benjamin Burnham. Michaela Leary.
Here.
Ariane Baker. Abby Glashan.
Here.
Desiree Brown. Fabian Morales. Kaylee Payne.
Here.
Isabella Moniz.
Here.
James McDonald. Here. Lois Black. Here. Savannah Souza. Here. Miles Jordan. Here. Gavin Fazio. Here. Jacob Constant.
Here.
Austin Morgan. Here. Brendan Rita. Here. Maggie Roberts.
Here.
Daniel Lyons. Here. Liam Connor. Here. Angel Hayes.
Here.
Chris Dura.
All right, our staff still in the building. If there's no further business, I call to adjourn the November 14th meeting until November 28th.